Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean and I brought out my old Barack Obama 2008 shirt today because there's a political question on this book and I'll probably say something that maybe I shouldn't, so I'm wearing that now because I may get myself into trouble, so here we go. Did I say this is the favorite people tag? If not, this is the favorite people tag. Question 1, name your favorite author. I think there are four for me, and I've kind of gone through phases. So the first one, Clive Cussler. Clive Cussler was really my most influential writer. He got me into reading. His book Atlantis Found, I was just talking about it in what I think will be my most previous video, which is a book haul video. I'll post it up there. But Clive Cussler was the most influential writer for me. He got me into reading. His book Atlantis Found was really the first book I ever really read, and it inspired my Trevor Knight series, and it inspired me to become a writer myself. So Clive Cussler was the most influential writer for me, and he was my favorite writer from like high school till like, I don't know, 25 years old or so. He's my favorite writer. I read him like almost exclusively. After that, I kind of went through a Michael Crichton phase. Michael Crichton, the author of Jurassic Park. And I have really liked several of his books, like Jurassic Park, The Lost World was pretty good. My favorite book by him, other than Bird, Jurassic Park, was a book called Airframe. That is kind of a book I often recommend more to people. I really liked Airframe. And I've liked several other books by Michael Crichton as well. There are definitely some books by him I have not liked as much, but thank you, baby. But definitely an author I really liked for a while. Third is probably, thank you, baby. Third is probably Rex Stout. Actually, I think Bird. Thank you, baby. There may be 5 authors on this list. So third, I think, is Rex Stout. Rex Stout is the author of the Nero Wolfe books, and those are kind of like murder mystery books. Not my kind of genre at all. I'm not much of a fan of mysteries. Part of the reason why is because I don't like in mysteries, because like at the end, when it has the reveal, if I don't know like what that reveal was, like if I was not like one step ahead, if I am fooled by the ending, I'm not going to be like, ooh, man, that was great. I didn't see that coming. I'm going to be kind of pissed off, like, damn it, I didn't see that coming. Why? The clues were there. I didn't see it. I'm an idiot. So I don't really like mysteries for that reason. I don't like the author like tricking me. I don't like not having figured things out on my own. So I don't really like mysteries, but I do like the Rex Stout books a lot, the Nero Wolfe books. Overall, his like writing isn't especially good. His plots aren't especially good. His characters aren't especially good. But I like them anyway, and I am hooked for pretty much the whole book anyway, wondering who the killer is and all this stuff. And something about Rex Stout's books is it's not like the killer reveal is a major, like, I don't know how to say it exactly. It's not a moment where it's like, dun 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 dun, it's this person. How could you have not seen that? What he does more is, it's almost more like, oh, by the way, the killer was this person, and this is how they did it. And this is like how you know they did it. So it's kind of like an almost anticlimactic reveal. So I like that because it doesn't have that feeling where it's like, aha, you thought it was going to be this person, but it's this person instead. It doesn't really make you feel that, I think. It's just real kind of subtle in a way, how they reveal it. It's just, oh, it's this person. And you don't feel stupid not having seen it coming. So I don't know, I just kind of like those books really well, pretty much. I think I read somewhere like 12 books in the Nero Wolfe series before I really began to not like it as much. The reason why is because Rex Stout began to like include novellas in his books. Basically, he would have like 2 or 3 stories in one book. And I just don't think his writing is like really good for that. Basically, I think Rex... that was the bird playing. But Rex Stout kind of needed, I think, all like 190 pages to really flesh out his characters and flesh out his plots, he needed 190 pages or 200 pages or whatever, 250 pages. He needed that many pages to make his stories work. But what he does with like the novellas is each little story maybe only like 100 pages each or whatever, 75 pages each. And it's just not really as good because he can't really explore the characters. He can't have like twists and turns so much where, oh, maybe it's this person instead. It's just a smaller cast. And I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. So I kind of lost interest in the Rex Stout books for that reason, because there are just so many novellas he did. If there's a standalone book where it's just one story, 200 pages, I'll definitely give it a read. After that, so that was the third author. The fourth would be Walter Moore's. Because of his book, The City of Dreaming Books, I picked it up from the library and it quickly became my all-time favorite book. I thought it was just the most perfectly written book of all time. I absolutely love The City of Dreaming Books. I've reviewed it elsewhere on my channel. I guess I will post it up here. It's my 3 by Moore's video. It's one of my more successful videos, and it's, I think, the second book I ever did on YouTube. So it's really interesting. You could see like one of my first videos and just see how nervous I was. It's pretty interesting. And you could also see my old bird Snowflake. Bird! You can see my old bird Snowflake. I really miss Snowflake. I loved that bird. Not that I don't love you, Nibbler. But anyway, so Walter Moore's, I really liked The City of Dreaming Books. I also really liked The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear. That's behind these gremlin guys. The 13 and a Half Lives of Captain Bluebear, really liked that book. Then he did another book, A Wild Ride Through the Night. It's kind of difficult to find. It may be expensive, but I like that book a lot as well. I haven't really liked the other books I read by him. Then the fifth author I really like is Tim O'Brien. About 2 or 3 years ago, I read his book, The Things They Carried, and it was one of the most beautiful, perfectly written books I've ever read. It might take the top spot for my favorite book of all time. The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. It's a like Vietnam War memoirs, but it also has like some fictional stuff as well. And I just love that book, The Things They Carried. Just perfect, beautiful book, a work of art. I absolutely loved Tim O'Brien for that book. Then I read his book, In the Lake of the Woods, which I have a signed copy of. I really liked that book as well. Then I read his book, July, July, a signed copy of that book. I did not like that book as much. Then I read another book by him, If I Die in a Combat Zone, Box Me Up and Ship Me Home. That was his first book that he published. I like that book pretty well, but definitely my favorite books by him are The Things They Carried and In the Lake of the Woods. Great, masterful books. So he is my fifth favorite author. And those are not necessarily in order. I mean, I've gone through phases. Question 2. Name your favorite comedy actor or comedian. Comedy actor. That's real difficult. I am not sure at all, really. My favorite comedy of all time, maybe my favorite movie of all time, is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But would John Cleese be my favorite comedian actor? No, it's just kind of the ensemble movie, the group I like. I really like the film Airplane, but I mean, is it Liam Neeson or Leslie Neeson? I don't know. But, you know, that actor is not my favorite comedian of all time. Maybe Mel Brooks, but was Mel Brooks a comedian or a comedy actor? I guess he was. So, I guess I'd go with Mel Brooks. His delivery is not really the best. I would like him more as a writer than a comedian. I think maybe, you know, he's kind of funnier if he has other people in front of the camera. Maybe. I mean, I definitely think Mel Brooks is funny as well. But I think I like him more as a writer. But I think overall, I really like Mel Brooks just because of, like, he kind of satirizes things, which I like. He spoofs things, which I like. I like making fun of things and people. But the actual answer I kind of want to go with for like my favorite comedian or whatever is actually going to be not so much a comedian, but actually a gamer, or not even YouTube, he's on Twitch, but Tomato Gaming. Tomato just like plays video games. I'm not even sure his like actual name, but he plays video games, and I think he's just so hilarious. Like he has like 5-hour videos. Thank you, baby. And often he'll just do like 2 hours just like talking with the chat, and then he'll do like 3 hours playing the actual game. And he's just so funny. Like every moment for Tomato is a highlight moment. So like other Twitch streamers and stuff, they'll have like a 20-minute video maybe, or a 10-minute video where they have highlights. Bird. Where they have moments that are funny from their stream or whatever. But with Tomato, you listen to the whole thing. It's 5 hours of pure entertainment all the way through. And he is such an insane gamer. Some of the moments he has are so great and funny. And also something I think about Tomato is he is actually a really good voice actor. Just the voices he can do and the characters he can do. And also some of the memory he has. Like he has done things where he will voice a character early in a stream, like early in a game, and 2 hours later, he will use the same voice for the same character. I don't know how he does it, how he remembers it. Just like some random character, he remembers their voice. And just the voices he comes up with. I really love Tomato Gaming, so yeah, he is just like constant entertainment. A lot of times what I'll do for bed, I'll just pull up one of his videos, 5 hours, and I'll just play it as I go to bed. Just like 5 hours of Tomato just randomly talking and going crazy. And there are definitely times where he wakes me up because it'll just be like something crazy going on. And I'll just, what, huh? And he just wakes me up. But anyway, I really like Tomato Gaming. He's so entertaining. He's so funny. Every moment is great with him. So I think he is overall like the funniest person I would really know. He is the one person I like click to every day. Question 3. Name your favorite dramatic, serious actor or actress. This is real tricky. I mean, I just don't really watch a ton of movies, really. And I've seen, a lot of movies, but I don't really like follow too many of them. Like I don't go out and watch every film that someone does. So I don't know. There's just so many moments. I think the answer I have to go with, though, is it's actually going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is actually a real good actor. Just the range he does and just all the different roles he can fill. And I mean, I always see that it's Leonardo DiCaprio in the role. So I mean, I can't look past that. I mean, I see it's the actor. So I don't just see the character, but I think he's so good at acting, really. So I think he is really probably one of the better actors of our era. Another actor I would really look up to would be like Daniel Day-Lewis. He is a great actor as well. There are several others, but I think Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of my favorite. Question 4. Name your favorite political figure, past or present. Okay, so this is where I could get in trouble. I think, there's several I could go with this, but the first one I want to talk about, one of my favorite political figures, is Andrew Johnson. And whenever I tell people this, they're always kind of like, come on, get serious. Andrew Johnson, what are you talking about? Andrew Johnson is routinely listed as one of the worst US presidents. He was the president right after Lincoln, and a lot of people don't like Andrew Johnson because basically they think he set back the civil rights movement 100 years. So why would I like him most as one of my favorite presidents ever? Well, I think what a lot of people do not understand is actually what Andrew Johnson did. So Andrew Johnson was a Southern Democrat who supported slavery, but he did not join the Confederacy. He actually fought to keep his state, Tennessee, in the Union. Basically, what Andrew Johnson thought was that while the South was right to decide slavery on their own, what they were not right to do was cede from the Union. He thought basically that that was not a constitutional thing that they could do. And at that point, he thought that they are basically becoming traitors. So you could deal with them in that way because they are treasonous. They are leaving the Union. So he basically fought to keep his state, Tennessee, in the Union. And what he did is he teamed up with Lincoln on the same presidential ticket for his second term. In his first term, Lincoln had a vice president from Maine. I think his name was Hannibal Hamlin, and that was Lincoln's first term vice president. But what Lincoln wanted to do with his second term, since the war was kind of coming to an end, what Lincoln wanted to do is he wanted to have like a unity ticket. He wanted to have the North and South be one nation again. And so the reason he liked Johnson for his vice president is because that to Lincoln would signal unification. That Lincoln was basically a Northern Republican, so his vice president was a Southern Democrat who supported slavery. And so what that meant was in the post-war that they would be one nation again. It would not be the North ruling over the South. They would be one nation again. That's Lincoln's goal. But then Lincoln was assassinated, so suddenly Johnson, a Southern Democrat who kind of supported slavery, became president. And I just don't really think you should judge Johnson for that, because it was never really the intent for him to become president then. The whole intent was for him to be vice president, to be part of this unity ticket where they would bring the country back together again and heal the country after this devastating bloody war. Lincoln at the time was having a lot of difficulty with the Republican Party because the Republican Party was split on what they should do. Basically, on one side, you had this group that was called Radical Republicans, and they wanted to have African Americans have citizenship and to vote and to be countrymen and all that. Other Republicans thought, well, no, we should just end slavery. Some of them thought we shouldn't even end slavery. We should just have the Union again. So the Republican Party was really split. And like some Republicans didn't even want blacks to be in the country. They thought we should just send all the blacks back to Africa. So the Republicans were split, and so Lincoln was hated even amongst the radical Republicans because the radical Republicans wanted Lincoln to do more than he was doing in terms of ending slavery. And they also thought the South should be held under a military dictatorship, and the South should not be able to like vote at all and all this stuff. So I mean, it was a real controversial question of what to do with blacks and whether they should be citizens and stuff. And there was also concern, like even among Republicans, like if you let blacks vote, then what if they just vote for their Democratic masters, you know? Because that's all they know is that, oh, their old master wants them to vote this way, so that's how they're going to vote. So they were worried if you allow the blacks to vote, they'll just vote for the Democrats, even though they were the ones who were holding them as slaves. So Lincoln was trying to chart a moderate path. He wanted to have the nation come back together as one nation, but he did also want to abolish slavery because he thought at that point that basically the slavery issue would tear the country apart. It tore the country apart. So you had to deal with the slavery question. You had to end that once and for all, but the nation would heal again and they'd be one nation. And Lincoln was charting a real difficult path trying to navigate all of this. But then he was assassinated, and all of a sudden his vice president, a Southern Democrat, is president, Andrew Johnson. And so suddenly Johnson has to make these decisions about what to do in this post-war country. And what you have to understand is that everyone basically hated Andrew Johnson. The North hated him because he was a Southerner. The South hated him because he supported the Union. The Republican abolitionists hated him because he supported slavery, basically. And the Southern slave owners hated him because he sided with Lincoln. So every single person really hated Andrew Johnson. The North hated him, the South hated him, the slave owners hated him, the abolitionists hated him. Everyone hated him because he was in the middle. But you kind of had to realize what he actually did and the courage it took for him to do what he did. I'm not talking about his presidency, but his like pre-presidency, what he did in the Civil War. While all the rest of the South was joining the Confederacy, Johnson was like the one guy who did not. And that just requires a whole lot of guts, because while everyone else was joining the Confederacy and thinking, you know, oh, the South, that is my true country, Johnson was like, no, my country is the United States of America. He did not join the Confederacy, even though his state did. And again, he was a Southerner and he was a Democrat, but he did not go along with it. So I just think that just requires so much guts, so much courage, so much bravery. Because for everyone else, they kind of went with wherever they were like sided with. Like the North, they joined the North because of course that's like their geographic area. And the South joined the South because that's their area. The abolitionists sided with, whatever, because they wanted to end slavery. The South, the opposite. But Johnson was a Southern Democrat who basically supported slavery, who decided, no, I'm going to stick with the Constitution. I'm going to stick with the Union. I'm going to support Lincoln and all of that. So I think people should just realize that how much courage it took him to do what he did. I think he would really be one of the bravest Americans who ever lived because of just how courageous it took him to do what he did. Because he had to become a traitor basically to the South, to the Democratic Party, to like supporters of slavery. He had to turn on all of them, being hated by all of them, even to this day. The South hates him and the North hates him. Thank you, baby. Everyone hates Andrew Johnson, but I think you should really realize what he did. And some of the people in his time really realized what he did. Hannibal Hamlin, Lincoln's first term VP, said that it cost people in Maine nothing to be loyal to the Union. Because, of course, in the North, you're going to be loyal to the Union. You're on the Union side. But for Johnson, it cost him everything. Because, all of his family, all of his friends, all of his, constituents and everything, all the people from Tennessee, they were all on board with the Confederacy. But Johnson decided, no, I care about the Union and the Constitution. I care about my country more than that. My country is the United States of America, not the Confederacy. So I think people should just realize that. I think Alexander H. Stephens, who was the vice president of the Confederacy, Alexander H. Stephens said that one man was to blame for the loss of the South in the Civil War. He didn't blame Lincoln. He didn't blame Grant. He didn't blame Jefferson Davis or Robert E. Lee. Alexander H. Stephens said that it was because of Andrew Johnson that the South lost the war. Because Andrew Johnson was trying to keep Tennessee in the Union, and that just created problems for the South because they couldn't quite get all of Tennessee, and it took them a while to get Tennessee, and it just kind of delayed them, set them back a ways because Johnson was fighting it. So Andrew Johnson becomes president, and radical Republicans thought that Lincoln was too soft on the South. So all of a sudden, you have this Southern Democrat who is president of the U.S., and the radical Republicans thought Lincoln was too easy. But all of a sudden, it's a Southern Democrat in power. So the radical Republicans were absolutely against Andrew Johnson. And the Democrats in the South hated Andrew Johnson because he supported Lincoln and he supported the Union. So they didn't really want to go along with anything he did, and the Republicans didn't want to go along with anything Johnson wanted to do. Johnson is responsible for his actions. So he did not support the 14th Amendment, which in short essentially outlaws slavery. He thought that the slavery question should be more up to each state because that's how it was constitutionally. And I do disagree with him there, because if you were able to pass this constitutional amendment prohibiting slavery, then all of a sudden, if it passes constitutionally, it would be constitutional. But kind of what Johnson argued is that the South was not able to have their legislatures recognized, so they were not able to legally pass constitutional amendments while the South was not able to vote on them. So the amendment would not be legitimate really in Johnson's eyes. So I can definitely see where he's coming from that from a constitutional perspective, but it really hurt his reputation or whatever, because the 14th Amendment did pass and it gave some teeth to opposing slavery. Because what the South did in the aftermath of the Civil War is they began passing what were called black codes. The Union was kind of no, you're not going to have slavery anymore. So the South was kind of okay, well, we're not going to have slavery, but we are going to have these laws where we say black people can't have firearms and stuff, and that black people have to work for certain people. So I mean, essentially slavery. The black codes were essentially slavery, just continued on with another name. And so that's why the 14th Amendment was really pushed along, because they were trying to make sure that those things did not happen, that the South did not just reenact slavery. And so Johnson did not support the 14th Amendment when really he should have. Even if he thought the South should have had a voice on it, he could have actually supported this amendment and worked to get this amendment passed. But Johnson was still kind of thinking that slavery should be up to each state to decide. And that really bit him, because when he did that, when he did not oppose the black codes, the South saw that and thought, oh, so the President Johnson is not opposing us, so we can continue with this. We can pass more black codes. We can reenact slavery. The South will rise again. And the North, the Republicans, saw Andrew Johnson not supporting all these abolition laws, and so they saw that Johnson was essentially a slavery supporter. So both of them really did not support Andrew Johnson. He did not get the nomination to run for president for the Democratic Party, and he left office. But then a few years later, he was elected to the Senate from Tennessee, which he was the only president to ever win a Senate seat after his presidency. He was the only president to be a senator after his presidency. But anyway, I'm talking way too much about this. I apologize. But I really kind of like Andrew Johnson for that reason. Not his presidency. I think his presidency is pretty much, forget his presidency, because I think, what is he really supposed to do at that point? Because he's a Southern Democrat who kind of supported slavery, and all of a sudden he's president of the US. That's not what it was supposed to be. Lincoln should have been the president. Lincoln should have been the one to navigate this divide and figure this out and try to bring everyone back together, with Lincoln being in charge of the Republicans and Andrew Johnson being in charge of the Democrats, and kind of like their voice, their representation. Even though they joined the Confederacy, Andrew Johnson would be their voice trying to get the South back into the Union. So I think you needed both of those too. And as soon as Lincoln was assassinated and Andrew Johnson became president, it kind of became a hopeless situation for him. What was he supposed to do? Democrats hated him, Republicans hated him, the North hated him, the South hated him. So what is he supposed to do in that circumstance? I understand he probably should have thrown his weight behind the 14th Amendment. He should have pushed the South to support the amendment. He should have pushed them to stop doing those black codes. He should have pushed them to prevent them from doing that, use whatever power he can to prevent that, but he didn't. So he is responsible for that. So yeah, he was really an inept president. He was not a good president for sure. But I think overall, as an American, I think he was one of the greatest Americans, because he chose union and country and constitution over his native South and over the Democratic Party. He put the country ahead of everything else. And he became a traitor to his own people, his own South, to support that. And to this day, he is still hated by everyone. But I really kind of sympathize with him in a way. I really feel he was a real courageous guy to do what he did, to support the Union when everyone else in the South was joining the Confederacy. He went the other way. Major courage, major cojones, major balls for Andrew Johnson. So I deeply respect him for that. Question 5. Name your favorite film writer or director. I've already mentioned Mel Brooks, so I think for this question, I will actually go to Guillermo del Toro. He is one of my favorite directors for the Hellboy movies, and also for his book, The Shape of Water. That, I think, was one of the most beautiful movies I had ever seen. It was a work of art. The Shape of Water, just a beautiful movie. So I really like Guillermo del Toro. So I think he is probably one of my favorite directors. Question 6. Name your favorite new discovery. Oh gosh, I don't know. The original author of this tag may have intended it to be favorite book discoveries or whatever. I'm trying to think though. I don't know any recent books I've really read that I've liked. So I'm going to go with a food option, and it's going to be Gardein Ultimate Plant-Based Chicken Tenders. Also, they also have, the same company has like fish fillets that are also real good. Those are actually probably my current favorite, but I mean, this is like the newer one, because this is like, I just tried the first of these like a week ago, and they're real good. So almost 2 years ago, I became vegetarian, and I've really been like reluctant to try any like plant-based stuff, like plant-based nuggets or patties or whatever. And so for maybe like the first, I don't know, 6 months or so of being vegetarian, I did not have any plant-based stuff really. But then I kind of began having some of it, and I think it's real good, because like occasionally, you know, I may just have a craving for like a chicken burger or whatever. Because I mean, all my favorite foods before I became vegetarian had meats. I mean, I think there's kind of a misconception in a way that like a lot of people think like, oh, vegetarians just don't like meat. And that's going to be further from the truth. All my favorite foods before I became vegetarian were meats. I mean, I loved, and I still would love, like chicken burgers and fish sticks and fish and chips and, you know, all kinds of things. Hamburgers, pepperoni pizzas, chicken Alfredo, crab, salmon. Turkey, probably my favorite food ever. I love turkey. But when I decided to become vegetarian, you know, I gave up all of that stuff. So it's not like, you know, I just don't like meat. I love meat. So, you know, just occasionally, you know, I get tired of having a lot of the same foods, because, you know, I was already a real picky eater before I became vegetarian. And then just overnight, I had to change everything I ate. But then, you know, a lot of people will say like, oh, why are you eating something that looks like meat if you don't want to eat animals? And it's just not really understanding the fact that most vegetarians do like meat, and they did eat meat before becoming vegetarians. And that's some of their favorite foods, and it is admittedly good. You know, we like that kind of food, you know, but we don't want to eat it. We choose not to eat it. So the plant-based foods kind of gives an alternative where we don't have to kill a chicken to have chicken nuggets. We could have something that's plant-based that, you know, tastes just as good. And as far as, you know, the taste of plant-based foods, I think it's really kind of hit or miss. I mean, some of it I think is just like tastes exactly the same as, you know, the actual foods. And others, you know, kind of taste raunchy, and it's just, nah, I wouldn't really like that. So I think you kind of do have to experiment with it. Like as far as like pizzas, I have not been able to find any pizzas I really like. They're just kind of raunchy. They just don't taste very good. But then there's other stuff like chicken patties, so I can have chicken burgers. Fish fillets, I just found those out. Those taste pretty good, I think. And then these chicken tenders or whatever, they taste pretty good as well. So anyway, gosh, I don't know what I'll get like attacked for more, my political views or my vegetarianism. I will say that I do not like, I guess like personal attacks. I mean, I definitely don't like personal attacks. And I've never like felt the urge to like attack people personally. So like even when I was not vegetarian, I did not, or at least I hope I didn't. I don't think I did. I don't think I like mocked vegetarians or whatever. And I just encounter so much of it today, like just, you know, people commenting like, oh yeah, I love killing cows, I love pigs, and, you know, I love the taste of hamburgers. And they say this just to like offend us or make us mad or whatever. And I think it's just such a dick move really, because like, you know, I don't feel the need to do that to anyone, just to insult them or to ridicule them for their choices. So I didn't do that when I was like non-vegetarian. You know, I didn't attack vegetarians for just not wanting meat. Thank you, baby. And as a vegetarian, I don't want to do that either. So I don't like go up to people and say like, oh, that hamburger is an animal, you're killing animals, you know. I think just leave people alone and don't attack people. Let people make their own choices. I don't know, it's just kind of painful though that people are just so mean about it. So I mean, you could believe in something and just not be a jerk about it and not put people down, but whatever. So anyway, I guess if anyone is wanting to comment and just kind of ask questions like, why do you want to eat something that, looks like an animal or whatever? Those questions are fine. But if you're just going to be a jerk or whatever and just like, gloat about things like, oh, I love killing animals, I love eating animals, whatever, you know, I may not tolerate that. So anyway, if you want to like talk about vegetarianism, or even if you want to like challenge me on it and like, what about this, I try to be patient with it and to be tolerant toward that, but you can go too far. So basically, just don't be a jerk. Don't personally attack anyone. Question 7. Name your favorite musician or singer. My favorite band in the entire world is, I think, Disciple. They are like a Christian rock band. And actually what's really cool is I actually found out that Disciple is playing a concert like 20 minutes away from my house on my birthday this year. So I'm super excited about that. And just like a few months ago, I posted on like their Facebook page, like kind of complaining like they never come to my side of the state. They're always across the mountains. And I was just like, why don't you come on this side of the mountains? I'd like to see you guys, but you're always on the other side of the mountains. And so one day they had like, new tour dates posted, and I saw, I was just scanning for my state, Washington, and I saw that they were coming on my birthday and to my own town, or near my town. It was actually like the town I grew up in. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And so what I actually did is I ordered like, they have a like VIP thing where you can go on their actual tour bus and like hang out with them on the bus before the concert and like listen to like unrecorded songs and just sit down with them for a while. And so I went ahead and I ordered myself a ticket for that, since it is on my birthday. My favorite band in the world playing a concert on my birthday in my like hometown, 20 minutes from my house. That is real cool. Talk about a great birthday present. So my favorite band, Disciple. Oh, and I guess I should say I have already seen them 2 times, and I met with the band both times, so I like got signatures from them both times. And yeah, so this would be my 3rd time seeing them, and excited about that. Question 8. Name your biggest inspirational person. Biggest inspirational person. That is different than influential person. Oh gosh. I guess I probably have to go again with Cussler, and the main reason is because how he hand wrote me a letter. So that just showed me you are never too big for anyone, that you can have time for fans. You can have time to be a good person. You are never too rich or too powerful or whatever to just spare time for someone to make someone's life better. So that really just meant a lot to me, I guess. And of course, since I'm such a big fan of autographs, I really like when people are like cool with fans. Like if you ask someone to sign something and they just do it, because some people just refuse to do it. And that's just kind of like, why? It just takes a few seconds. It takes 2 seconds to sign something. And it may be like something they'll never forget, a highlight of their life, meeting someone they really liked or someone real famous. And they'll tell that story for years. And if you're just a jerk to them, then it's just kind of heartbreaking in a way. So for my like most influential writer to do that for me, to have the time to handwrite me a letter, that's just like, it really lets me know that I am never too big for anyone either. In fact, it's kind of a related story. I don't know if I should tell this or not, but I guess I will. When I first like published books, I wound up like going to the bookstore owner, because I went in there all the time, of course. And I was like, hey, I just have this new book. And I think I was like wanting to sell it to him, or maybe he wanted to buy it or whatever. But he is like, sure, I'll buy it from you. How much is it? And I was like, I forget what I said, but I think it was something like, I said like, oh, $10 unsigned or $15 signed. And so he gave me $15 and I signed it. But I've always kind of regretted it, because it's like, why did I do that? So I don't know, maybe 2 years back, I went back and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember this at all, but when I first published a book, I told him the story, how, I said $10 unsigned, $15 signed. And I was like, I've always kind of regretted that because I don't ever want to like charge people for signatures for signed books. So I gave him back $5 just because I felt bad about it. So that's just kind of a way, I guess, Cussler has influenced me in a way, just that, not being too big for anyone. It just takes 2 seconds to just scribble your name. So to just do that, and, I'm so big on signed books or whatever, so I didn't want to be like that, where I'm just like, oh no, I'll pay for it if you pay me, or you got to pay me more to get my autograph. That's BS. So yeah, I just never do that ever again, where it's just like, oh, I'll sign it if, you buy this, or you have to, whatever, do it for free. Be a good person. It doesn't cost you anything to be a good person. I guess one more person I will mention for, I don't know if it's inspirational or something, or if it's just someone I really look up to, but it's the singer Pink. I think her name is Alicia Moore. I really like Pink because she just seems like such a genuine person. Like, she's, real rich and stuff and real successful, but she just seems like real down to earth. Like she is who she is. And like politically, I know we definitely disagree, but I still like her in spite of that. I think she's just a real cool person and I like her. And even though like, politically, she probably wouldn't like me, and like after like the abortion thing, like Roe versus Wade was struck down, she said something about like along the lines of like, oh, I don't want these people like buying my music or listening to my music or whatever. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway. But I really like Pink. Oh darn it, there's another thing I could get into fights for in the comments, is abortion. I do have the Obama shirt on though. I wonder if I should do videos actually like on politics or just any kind of other subjects, because I would kind of like to discuss that, but I don't want to do it on my booktube channel, even though I've done it a lot on this video. So in the future, I'm definitely not wanting to like stay on this topic. I want to keep this channel just about book related stuff. But in the comments, if you want to fight about anything or argue about anything or debate anything, I guess, I love to debate. So that's cool. Just the main thing is just to try to be civil. Don't personally attack anyone. I don't put up with that. Personal attacks are not okay. You can disagree without being disagreeable. So yeah, no personal attacks. That's really my only request. And also one thing is, I just want to add this at the last moment. I don't want to have like any kind of people who like may follow me or whatever. I don't want to have it be like where, I don't know how to say this exactly, but I don't want it to be like where I should tell you what to think or what to believe or what is good or bad or whatever. I think I would rather have people following me who can make up their own mind, because I want you to be able to think for yourself and make up your own decision, make up your own mind. On everything, like politics and all that. So I don't think like just because you like someone's art form or you like their whatever, you like their songs or you like their books or whatever, I don't think that means that you should have to agree with them politically and just puppet whatever they say because that's what they say. So, oh, they're cool, I like them, so I'm just going to say what they think as well. I don't want that. I want everyone to make up their own mind, to think for themselves. So if you disagree with anything I say, like politically or whatever, that is great. That is brilliant. I love that. That's fine. Just be courteous, be polite. Don't personally attack people. That's my only rule, really. Be civil. I love like debating. I love, disagreeing. That's cool because that shows that you are thinking, hopefully, for yourself. Not that you're just parroting what someone said and whatever. I would most like anyone who like reads my books or watches my channel or whatever, I would encourage them to think for themselves, not just to like wonder what I think and make that their view. I want people to think for themselves. And yeah, if you disagree with someone, that is great. That is fine. That is perfect. That's what being in a free society is all about, is making up your own damn mind and expressing your own views. So I totally encourage that. So whatever. Anyway, this is a super long video. I apologize for that. I'll try to edit it down as much as possible. I probably have about an hour and a half of footage, so we'll see how much of a video I could get it down to. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time, hopefully, if you're not boycotting my channel. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Bye.
2, 3, 4.